Howdy folks, welcome to another beautiful early evening out here in West Vancouver. It's been an absolutely amazing day. Still in a t-shirt, I'm in jeans though, but the weather is great. Anyway, today we're going to talk about the 7 things that cost more in Canada than almost everywhere else in the world. So, let's start. Number 1, credit card interchange fees. You might remember in a video earlier this week or last week I was talking about the fact that the Canadian government has now made it law that businesses can pass on credit card fees to the consumers. Now, why would they want to do that? Because the credit card fees are very expensive in Canada. What the credit card companies do is they charge what they call interchange fees, and those interchange fees in Europe is only 1% of the transactions, but in Canada it's 1.4% of every transaction. So the Canadians pay 40% more than the Europeans for the same Visa and American Express and all those credit cards. Why? Who knows? But that is number 1 on our list. Number 2 on our list is cell phone plans. Cell phone plans in Canada is just very expensive. You know, if you go out there, you can't get a unlimited or a cell phone plan for under $80, $85, $90. It's very expensive. They actually did a study, I think a couple of years ago, where they looked in Europe and they said in Europe you can get a 100 gigabyte internet plan with unlimited calling and unlimited everything for as little as $30 a month. That same plan, according to the study, would cost about $144 a month in Canada. Now, I have to admit, in my personal experience, we are with Shaw and we pay $35 a month for unlimited calling and, well, unlimited data, but they also kind of throttle you. So you've got LTE up to a certain spot, and then after that, your your service just goes down a little bit. What do they call it? Fair use or something like that. It's theoretically unlimited, but not exactly. And the only reason we are paying $35 only is because we are also with Shaw Internet on our fiber. So, you know, it's this one of those combined package plans. But cell phones are expensive, data is expensive out here. I know in South Africa what happened a couple of years ago, the government actually made a law because part of the additional cost for all of these cell phones was because, or the calls and the data was because between the cellular companies they also had some sort of interchange fee. You know, well, you are using my data, so I'm selling it for you to you, and those data prices were ridiculous, so they were paying a lot of money across to each other, and the government came and capped it, so that actually made a difference. In Canada, though, I think there's 3 main cell phone companies, so I guess it's also a thing with competition. What do you got? You got Rogers, Bell, and Telus. Those, between the 3 of them, they cover 90% of the Canadian cellular market. So, you know, only 3 big guys, supply, demand, I guess they can get away with higher prices. All right, that was number 2. Now we're going into number 3. Which is one of the sin taxes, cigarettes. Cigarettes is apparently much more expensive in Canada. I think we are the 6th most expensive in the world for a packet of 20 cigarettes. And why? Well, that is purely sin taxes. The government just piles it on, and I think they're even going to make it worse or more. They're going to load it even more because they do not want people to smoke. The average price for a packet of cigarettes across Canada, I think, is just over $12 for a pack of 20s now. And in places like Newfoundland, that is actually goes to almost over $15 a packet. So very expensive if you want to smoke cigarettes in Canada. Not that I care too much about that one. But anyway. And then we have number 4 on our list, which is healthcare. Now, of course, healthcare this doesn't sound like it should be on the list because we've got universal healthcare and it's free to the citizens, free universal healthcare. But the reality is there's a couple of studies, the Commonwealth Fund and the Fraser Institute, they all looked at stuff like how much does Canada spend on its universal healthcare system and what do people get for the amount of money. Now, I'm not sure if they did it per capita or per patient, but basically what it boils down to is that obviously the US are by far the worst. That is the most expensive healthcare in the world almost. It's like ridiculous. When you get sick in the US, you go bankrupt or you die type of thing. It's very, very expensive. But Canada is a very close second. Apparently, when they did these studies, the Fraser Institute and these guys, they looked at all the services, the spending around the world, and places like Belgium and Netherlands and other places in Europe that's also got free universal healthcare, they spend a lot less than Canada per patient, I guess. And the service is significantly better. Now that study I think was done in 2019, so the data is also a little bit outdated. Currently our healthcare system has got even bigger problems with staff shortages. I mean, you read in the newspapers every day about emergency units that are closing and that can't service people, and it is a problem at the moment. But anyway, so Healthcare Canada, the amount spent per patient is actually second only to the US. All right, then the next one on our list is fuel. So, let's not say luckily, Europe is currently in big problems with the energy crisis, with the war over there. And while they do have the most expensive fuel in the world, I think Norway now pays $3 a litre of fuel, which is ridiculously expensive. Canada is the most expensive in the Western Hemisphere. So in the Americas, Canada pays the most for fuel. Vancouver at the moment, we are paying $2.30 a litre of fuel. That is very expensive. And why is it so expensive? Well, taxes. I think 40 cents a litre of fuel goes to taxes, and that's before they work out the clean carbon something fuel standard, carbon levy or something like that. So it's before that gets added on. It's already 40 cents a litre that goes to taxes. But Canada also has this clean fuel standards that the manufacturers and the fuel guys must adhere to, and these apparently that adds about 15 cents a litre just to the production costs of the fuel. So very expensive. Fuel is just ridiculous at the moment. Well, in general, apparently we are always more expensive. All right, so the next one on our list is milk and dairy. Now, if you go across the border to the US, you will see that milk and dairy is a lot cheaper than it is on this side of the border. Who knows why? It is just what it is. Apparently, there are a few key producers that kind of control the market, and it's like OPEC with the oil. You know, if there's few enough people that control the flow of a product, then they control the price of the product. So milk is significantly more expensive in Canada than in the US. And then, of course, the last one on our list, which I mean, obviously the most obvious one, is housing. I mean, housing in Canada is ridiculously expensive. I mean, I'm just thinking back in Tampa, we lived in a 3-story house with an elevator, 2,400 square feet, in a complex with 2 swimming pools, 8 tennis courts, a gym. It was voted the 8th best neighborhood to live in Tampa. So a really nice area. And the house we lived in there was sold for 255,000 US dollars. If I had that same house out here in West Vancouver, well, I guess anywhere in Vancouver, it would be at least a $2 to $3 million home. So housing is really, really expensive. And why is it so expensive? Well, because we are not building enough houses for the amount of people that are coming into Canada. There's a lot of immigration into Canada. What did we say? They've approved 435,000 or 437,000 PRs already this year. That's excluding work permits and student permits. So there's a lot of people coming to Canada, and there is just not enough homes. Now you would think that, you know, the private sector would just step in and build the homes for all these people, which they are trying to do. But unfortunately, in Canada, there's a lot of red tape. A lot of the cities and a lot of the provinces, they have a crap load of red tape to approve building permits and building plans. And the private sector, the contractors, the builders, they just can't get their stuff approved. I mean, I'm even thinking about the house we lived in over there. Those people applied for their permit to redevelop the house. It was going to take 6 months. Eventually, we ended up living there for 18 months. And you know what? We went past there recently. They still, well, 16 months we lived there. They still have not demolished the house because their permits are still not approved. So much so that the government is actually stepping in. A lot of the political promises around local elections and stuff now talks about removing the red tape around new developments. Anyway, folks, those are the 7 things that Canadians pay more for than almost anyone else in the world. Hope you enjoyed it. Have a good one. Cheers.